Welcome back to the channel. My name is Emory. This channel is dedicated to helping you get better at backpacking. And today we're talking about preventing blisters. As always, there are links to everything I mentioned in this video, specifically Leukotape, because it's really important, along with the website, the podcast, and my beginner backpacking course with over 60 tutorials on how to backpack from beginning to end. So I'm gonna give you 3 tips on how to prevent blisters when you're backpacking and hiking. Now, full caveat, blisters happen. Some people's feet are just naturally averse to hiking and backpacking. Some people's feet don't blister up regardless of the footwear that they use. They can do anything and everything to their feet. So take everything with a grain of salt. There are things that you can put in place to mitigate blisters. By no means is this gonna prevent them 100%. Maybe that could happen, but at least it's gonna give you an edge in blister prevention. So let's get into it. Tip number 1, and this is super easy. Size up your footwear like a half size or even a full size. The reason why you do this is, well, there's a couple of reasons. 1, it gives your feet extra room to kind of like swell. So if you're on your feet all day long and it's hot, or just even on your feet working, they tend to swell up over time. And if your shoes are too tight, your feet slowly swell and then they start rubbing on the side and rubbing on the bottom, rubbing in places that they never rubbed before. That's how you get blisters. The second reason is when you're going downhill, your toes are not jammed up against the front of your shoe or boot. Toe blisters suck. You can damage your nails and your nails can fall off that way. You don't want those things jam when you're going downhill. So when you size up half a size or a full size, it just gives your foot more room to breathe. So tip number 1, just go up half a size to a full size. Give yourself some room to breathe. Number 2, tape your feet up either when you feel something hot coming on, like a hot spot coming on, or even preventative taping. Now I use Leukotape and I hadn't used Leukotape until I actually hiked the Pacific Crest Trail. And when I learned about it and used it, it's amazing. I will put links in the description of the video because you need this stuff and I have it right here. This is Leukotape. It is, you can get it online. It's actually, the name is actually Leukotape. It's kind of like it acts as like a second skin. It doesn't feel like skin, but it's just a athletic tape that's super sticky that you just put on over a hot spot. The key here is don't let a hot spot fester and be like, oh, I'll get it in like an hour when I take a break. The second you feel a hot spot, you have to address it. There's 2 ways you can do this. If you have trouble spots that you know will always form a blister, so on a toe, on a heel, on the bottom of your foot, on the side, wherever that might be, you can preload the chute and you can tape your foot up at those spots before you even head down the trail so you don't have to stop. Secondly, the second you start feeling that hot spot come on, you have to tape it up. Even if it's like 5 minutes into your hike and you just put your backpack on, it's so incredibly important to address it right away, because if you wait and you're like, oh, I just started hiking, I don't want to stop and put Leukotape on, you're gonna get a blister and it's gonna get worse. This just helps. I even put like 1 or 2 layers on just to reduce that friction, and you can leave it on for the duration of your trip. And when you go home at the end of the trip, you can take it off in the shower. It's very sticky. I've heard that some people's skin really it sticks really well to. My feet doesn't really stick that well. I can kind of just work it off over time, but it's super helpful. So tape up your feet. That's tip number 2. Tip number 3, keep your feet dry them out as often as possible. Moisture makes blisters. That's just how it is. Your feet are wet, they're rubbing in your sock and in your shoe. It's gonna form a blister if it's doing any sort of rubbing. So you have to keep them dry. So a few ways you can do that are when you take a break. You take your shoes and your socks off and you air them out. You can go full crazy and pull the insoles out of your shoes and air everything out until they're perfectly dry. That really helps. Honestly, even just like kicking your shoes off and airing your dogs out in the sun, even if it's not sunny, just getting air circulating around your feet and your socks helps immensely. They don't have to be perfectly dry. You're just trying to battle moisture. There's another way you can do this, and that's to rotate your socks. So let's say I'm hiking for 5 miles, I take a break to have some food, I air my shoes out, I kick my socks off, and I take a fresh pair of socks out of my bag and I put them on my feet. Once my feet are dry, and I dangle the wet pair on the outside of my pack, and then so that they're drying out, they're not getting, wetter. When I get to my next break, I swap my socks again and I do this rotation thing. It's a really easy way to reduce moisture. And again, it may not be perfect, but it's going to help. So yeah, keep your feet dry and rotate your socks. Keep everything as dry as possible. Mitigate the moisture. Now, I also have a bonus tip, and that is not to walk so fast. Slow down your gait. You don't need to hurry down the trail. What tends to happen when we walk faster than our natural pace is we're putting pressure on our joints and our feet in places that there's never really pressure. One really easy, awesome tip for reducing blisters is just like slowing down your pace to a natural walking pace. I hope that was helpful. If it was, let me know in the comments below. If you have any tips for how to mitigate blisters and prevent them, I would love to know. I'm always trying to learn, and I think people in the comments would like to learn as well. Be sure to check out the podcast, the website, and the backpacking course. It's a beginner backpacking course with over 60 video tutorials detailing every step of the way from beginning to end. It's really awesome, and the links are in the description. If you're headed out on an adventure anytime soon, be safe, make great decisions, and we'll see you next time.